Wait, you're telling me a whole government declared war on birds and they lost? They don't teach history like this in your school, but between me, you, and this statement, we're going to change that. Welcome to the Ancient Tea channel. Grab your cup of tea, because today's tea comes with extra honey, extra sugar. Imagine being a soldier. You survived World War One. You fought actual human beings, and one day the government calls you and tells you you're going to another war just for you to discover the enemy are birds, fightless birds, and somehow the birds won. After World War One, the Australian government gave ex-soldier the Western Australia to start a farm there. This was basically a soldier settlement scheme. Australia was already going through the Great Depression, economic instability, drought, and widespread hardship. Farmers were barely making enough to survive, and things got worse. About 2,000 emus marched into Western Australia due to drought and in search of food. And baby, in case you don't know what an emu is, it is basically a velociraptor with feathers. We're talking about height of over 1.8 and above. That is basically a 5'7" and above. Way taller than me and could run 50 km per hour. They ran faster than most humans. The emus were very hungry. They began eating wheat crops, destroying fields, breaking fence, and causing thousands of dollars in damage. The farmers were furious. The farmers complained to the government, and the defense minister, Sir George Pierce, who looked at the whole situation and decided to send humans with Louis machine gun against fightless birds. Okay, wait, the emus are the largest birds in Australia though. He decided to send trained soldiers against fightless birds. Okay, the emus are the second largest birds in the world. He decided to send trucks mounted with machine guns against birds, and baby, the Australian army deployed 3 soldiers, one being the army commander, Major Meredith, 2 Louis machine guns, and 10,000 bullets. They won. Total disaster. They found about 50 emus, trying to hit them into a trap, and the birds did something unexpected. They scattered. One flock became dozens of smaller groups. Suddenly, the soldiers had birds running everywhere. The shots missed completely. The emus were too far, too fast. It's safe to say, while Meredith was making plans for the war, the emus possibly had their own general because they were too smart and able to counter every plan the army had. Couple days later, the major says for another attack. This is the famous ambush by the dam. Over 1,000 of emus marching right into it. He waits, point blank, open fire, and all of a sudden, their guns jammed, only killing about 12 birds with their jammed guns. Imagine, out of 20,000, only 12 were dead. The army came up with another brilliant plan. How about we mount our machine guns on a truck, then chase the birds? Problem solved. Except it wasn't. The trucks bounced over rough roads. The birds were too fast. The gunners couldn't aim. The operation was a total disaster. 6 days in the war, they fired about 2,500 bullets and killed about 50 birds. The math was embarrassing. The Australian government pulled the soldiers off the field in shame. The farmers still needed help, so a second campaign began later that month. This time, the soldiers were focused more on smaller attacks, day after day, weeks after weeks. Eventually, military reports claimed that over 986 emus were confirmed dead. Some estimates suggest another 2,500 birds later died from wounds. So here's the problem. There were about 20,000 emus. Even after all the bullets, most of the birds were still out there. The mission was supposed to stop the emu problem. It didn't. The emus kept coming. Farmers still suffered damage, and eventually the army gave up, and the emus were officially and unofficially declared the winners of this war. After the war, where the emus were declared winners, it's saying that in 1934, 1943, and in 1948, farmers still complained about the emus on their land, but this time, the government didn't send the army. The government gave the farmers some ammo and put a bounty on the emus, built exclusive fencing, wildlife management, and control programs, and the emus, still out there, about 100 years later, still all over Australia, protected, thriving and completely unbothered. Today, there are over hundreds of thousands of emus in Australia. They survived the literal war and won it. Honest respect to them. This is the Emu War of 1932, the only war where the enemy couldn't fly but still escaped. And if you like your history messy and your tea extra hot, hit the subscribe button, because on Ancient Tea, we are spilling tea from every century.